Oh, it's like a little chat you can do.
So you're live. If we it might be good to start off muted though.
Yeah. So everybody can see everybody coming in to start off with.
Yeah, it's already streaming. Let's see if
Already streaming. I saw class and was supposed to be setting it up.
he says we can hear
But they can't see you?
Now she right. Yeah. All the parents are saying.
I say but if somebody is older now in a completely random way and say it's pronounced, and I'm going to tell them if the dad that would be, but the fact that the creator of himself, this is how he wants
How are I'm not going to be sitting here.
Thank you very much for joining.
Is your brother?
I'd like to invite everyone to find their seats. We're going to begin the wedding ceremony very soon. Well, welcome to all for this very happy day. And we thank you, Josh and Adela, for allowing us to be part of your happiness today. You today have decided to join yourselves in marriage. And this is a very special arrangement that Jehovah has made for happiness for humans. Let's all look at the account there in the Garden of Eden of the first marriage in Genesis chapter 2. And we'll be able to gain some insights about why this really has special meaning and why it's going to be a wonderful thing for the two of you. When you look at verse 18 of Genesis chapter 2, we see that Adam was alone, created by Jehovah. And it says there, "Then Jehovah God said, 'It is not good for the man to continue to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as a complement of him.'" Well, Jehovah said that it was not good for Adam to be alone. We know that it wasn't necessary for people to get married to be pleasing to Jehovah. You each were very pleasing to Jehovah as you were serving him in a single state. And Jesus made it clear that single people are no second-class servants, right? But he said here that it wasn't good for Adam to be alone. Humans are a social creature, and Adam needed help to produce more people. And so in service of doing that, he established the marriage arrangement. He established the arrangement for something very new, for a family to exist. And that's what you're doing today. Now, the family really is a special thing. If we look at verses 21 and 22, we can see how Jehovah brought this about. In verses 21 and 22, it says that Jehovah caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of his ribs and then closed up the flesh over its place. And Jehovah built the rib that he had taken from the man into a woman, and he brought her to the man. So this account shows that Eve was created, but at that time something else new came into existence. It was the family arrangement. Eve had been taken from Adam, so very closely related, so many similar qualities. But in the previous verse that we read, verse 18, it said that Eve would be a complement to Adam. And that means that this family arrangement, a marriage, is more than just adding 1 + 1. A complement is not just an identical thing. It doesn't even give you the picture of a mirror image. A complement is something different that fits just right. And that's what you are doing today. You are fitting together, forming a new family. And this family is to be something distinct. After Eve was brought to Adam, in verse 24, Jehovah had it inspired to be written, "That is why a man will leave his father and his mother, and he will stick to his wife, and they will become one flesh." You have chosen to bring that one flesh, this new family, into existence today. And this new family supersedes your previous families. Apologies to Mom and Dad Steelman and Mom and Dad Moad. This one takes primacy. And while you will continue to love and enjoy your families, your focus is now going to be on this new family. It's said here, Jehovah said that you will stick to one another. This is intended to be as permanent as your own lives. Well, to make the marriage last, one thing is essential, and that is that Jehovah has to be at the center of your marriage. You remember that at Ecclesiastes 4, verse 12, it describes the strength of a threefold cord, right? We hear that with just about every marriage talk that's given. And what an excellent illustration of strength is that threefold cord. Because if you just take two strands and you try to put them together, you can't make something new. It's never a true cord. It's just a twist, right? That unravels easily. It's only when you add in that third strand that they can be braided together and form something new, a true cord, something that is permanent and new. And so with your marriage, Jehovah must be woven in thoroughly. That means including him in your family communication. And you've already done that in your courtship, haven't you? You regularly prayed together and talked to Jehovah. And you've listened to Jehovah regularly by studying his word together. So keep doing those things even more fully. Your focus on pleasing Jehovah is what's going to give your marriage resilience. Even when you face challenges, sometimes challenges that test the limits of your human determination, knowing that you're pleasing Jehovah gives you that resilience. And studying his word is going to give you the wisdom to step up to things you've never done before, to care for someone else's needs emotionally and spiritually. Making Jehovah a full member of your threefold cord as a party to your marriage is what's going to give it real strength. But each one of you has a distinct role to play in making your marriage work. And the two roles that are represented in the marriage are well described in Ephesians chapter 5. And we're going to spend some time looking at verses in Ephesians chapter 5. Josh, for you to be the head of the family. It's very plain in the scriptures. And if you look at verse 25 of Ephesians chapter 5, it adds an essential quality for you as a head. It starts off by saying, "Husbands, continue loving your wives." So very simply stated, your role is to be a loving family head. Now, what does that mean in practice? You've never been a loving family head before. Well, the pages of the Wash are full of practical advice. You've never been any kind of family head before, right? Now, you've been a student. You're someone who loves to dig in and understand what the scriptures say. And you've studied all of the suggestions and talking with you, you've been doing your best to put into practice good things for your family, to take the lead. But something you need to realize is that all of these suggestions that you've read will never guarantee success. Sometimes married life defies formulas. But there is something that will always guarantee the best possible results. And it's the second part of verse 25, where it says, just as the Christ also loved the congregation and gave himself up for it. Paul is saying here that husbands should be looking to Christ as the perfect example of headship. So if you remember nothing else from this talk, remember this one thing. Be totally focused on following Christ's example in being a loving head. Christ's headship had a purpose for the congregation. In verses 26 and 27, as we read this, you'll see that he had a goal, he had a purpose for his headship. It says, in order that he might sanctify it, cleansing it with the bath of water by means of the word, so that he might present the congregation to himself in its splendor, without a spot or a wrinkle or any of such things, but holy and without blemish. When you read through all of this, what you get in totality, you get the sense is that Jesus' purpose was to help the congregation to reach its full potential in serving Jehovah, to make their good qualities manifest in splendor, and to help them diminish any of their deficiencies, to be without spot or wrinkle. So to imitate Christ, you must make that the purpose of your headship, to help Adela reach her full potential in serving Jehovah, to give her what she needs for her finest qualities to be on full display, to shine brightly in splendor, and to be an asset to her in minimizing any spots or blemishes. Think about how Jesus worked with his disciples. He encouraged their best qualities. He patiently worked with them on their flaws. He was adaptable to their needs. And consider how it turned out. Those men became pillars of the congregation. The same will be true for you. If you really focus on helping Adela reach her full potential, you will meet her needs, and she will be able to enjoy her service to Jehovah. Now, you are starting married life as a Bethel couple, and there are more than likely, there likely are going to be more than the usual opportunities for you, Josh, as a brother, to have additional responsibilities at Bethel. But always keep Jesus' example in mind. He kept clear his goal of being a good head to the congregation, to his disciples. And as it turned out, being a good head to the congregation, to his disciples, helped them reach their full potential, and it enhanced his ability to fulfill his assignments. It's the same for you. If you stay focused on helping Adela reach her full potential and serving her interests as a loving head, you will find your value to the organization is enhanced. Now, Paul also gave another valuable way of thinking about your headship in verses 28 and 29. He said, in the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. A man who loves his wife loves himself. For no man ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cherishes it, just as the Christ does the congregation. So, a Christ-like family head pays attention to the needs of his wife, just as he pays attention to his own needs. In order for you to be at your best for your assignment, you make sure you get enough rest, you eat properly, you take care of yourself. Well, conscientious wives can sometimes neglect their own needs in service and unselfish service to the family. So it's going to be your job to be conscious that Adela gets proper rest, she eats properly, she takes care of herself, just as you do for yourself. The verse also indicates that a man is never cruel to himself, right? That may be unthinkable for all of us to imagine Josh ever being physically cruel or verbally abusive. That's not who you are. You have a reputation well deserved for being mild and gentle, and you're going to take that on with you into the marriage. But as a fellow quiet person, here's just something to keep in mind. Be conscious that whatever words of disappointment or mild criticism can take on an outsized impact. So consider even the things you might say or do in a quiet way, and think about how they would make you feel, and then multiply that by a couple orders of magnitude to see what impact they might have on Adela. And then when you do that, you can make sure that you're caring for her just as you would care for yourself. So these are the things to keep in mind. Imitating Christ, caring for Adela as your own body, and you will be able to fulfill your role as a loving head. Now, Adela, your special role is described in Ephesians 5 verses. Here it says, "Let wives be in subjection to their husbands as to the Lord, because a husband is head of his wife, just as the Christ is head of the congregation, he being a savior of this body. In fact, as the congregation is in subjection to the Christ, wives should also be to their husbands in everything." So the wife's role is subjection. And verse 33 adds an essential quality. The second part of verse 33 says, "The wife should have deep respect for her husband." So, a deeply respectful subjection. That's what Jehovah has outlined for you. What does that mean in practice? Well, you too, Adela, are an excellent student, and you've been meditating and studying on all of the suggestions that are in the publications. So again, for you, if you remember nothing else, remember this one thing. Focus on Jesus' example of subjection. In the early part of your relationship, being in school should be to become like Christ, who was able to say, "I always do the things pleasing to my Father." He wasn't pausing to ask for specific direction about every situation he faced. He was somebody who was known as somebody who took initiative on things, but he knew that everything he did was in harmony with his Father's thinking. You want to become like that. And the only way to do that is to get to know Josh's thinking deeply. Not just what he decides, but why he decides things that way. What does he value? How does he feel about things and people? If you really understand Josh's thinking deeply, then you can take initiative in situations knowing that you are always in subjection to Josh and working together as a family. As you've been preparing for marriage, I'm sure that you've looked at Proverbs 31 and tried to study that example of a capable wife carefully. She's described as someone who's buying and selling, conducting real estate and business transactions, just making things happen in the household. Nothing in those verses hints at her stopping to ask for a decision about everything, but her husband praises her because everything she was doing was in harmony with his desires, what he values, what was important. So again, you want to get to know Josh's thinking so well that you can act and do and buy and sell, always knowing that your actions are pleasing to Josh. That is Christ-like subjection. The quality of deep respect goes hand in hand with Christ-like subjection. Many Christian women have to respect just the role of their husband because perhaps their husbands don't display Christian qualities. But you chose Josh and were originally attracted to Josh because you saw qualities you could respect. Now your goal is to make that respect even deeper. That's going to come from becoming more deeply familiar with his thinking and his feelings about all sorts of things. But here is where that deep respect will become most clearly manifest. When you don't agree with his thinking or decisions. It may happen once or twice in the course of your marriage, but it will happen. But with deep knowledge of Josh's thinking, you will be able to perceive how his thinking, while not the same as yours, springs from good motive and fundamentally good qualities. Or maybe not. Perhaps you will accurately perceive that human imperfection is contributing to the difference in your thinking. In that case, your deep respect will mean that you can see this imperfect decision in the totality of his good qualities and the overall pattern of Josh's sound thinking. And so you can work hard to make sure that it has the best possible outcome. Even when you vigorously disagree and are certain that you're on solid ground, you can show deep respect when you speak about the decision, or even more importantly, when you speak to him about the decision, and have it come through that you truly respect all of his good qualities and you're in full support of the family. That is Christ-like subjection with deep respect. Now, as you both work to fulfill your assigned roles in the marriage, the quality of love will give your marriage the permanence that Jehovah intended. Let's look at Colossians, the 3rd chapter, and look at verse 14. It is a perfect bond of union. If there is anywhere that you want a perfect bond of union, it's in your marriage as you get started. So clothe yourselves with love. Let it protect your marriage just as clothing protects your body. And remember what this love means. It's not the attraction you felt at the beginning and during your courtship. It's not even the affection you feel for each other as intimate friends. It is unselfish, agape love. So look for ways to show that unselfishness on a daily basis. Remember, Josh, that Christ-like headship is based on knowledge of what Adela needs. And remember, Adela, that deeply respectful subjection is based on deep knowledge of Josh's thinking and motivations. That requires a lot of communication. And starting married life as a Bethel couple is a wonderful privilege, but it can be very demanding of your time between your full Bethel schedule, congregation activities, things that are to make a conscious effort to make time to talk and to listen. You may find, especially in the early part of your marriage, that you will have to choose between certain privileges and the best interests of your marriage. Always choose family first. You have long lives of service ahead of you, and privileges will come around again, but you only get one chance to start your marriage well. So always choose family first. Choose to show love by establishing little traditions that let you continue to bond. Choose to show love by carving out time daily to have meaningful communication. Choose to show love by becoming one another's safe place. To make your marriage last and succeed, choose to show love. Because as we had emphasized at our convention this year, love never fails. Now, I want to ask you to stand so that we can make this official. Stand and face one another as I ask you each this question. First of all, for Josh. Do you, Joshua Austin Steelman, in the presence of Jehovah God and these witnesses, take Adela Moad to be your wedded wife, to love and to cherish in accordance with the divine law as outlined in the Holy Scriptures for Christian husbands for as long as you both may live?
I do.
And now, do you, Adela Moad, in the presence of Jehovah God and these witnesses, take Joshua Austin Steelman to be your wedded husband, to love and to cherish and deeply respect in accordance with the divine laws outlined in the Holy Scripture for Christian wives, for as long as you both may live?
I do.
Now, who gives this woman to be married to this man?
I do.
Thank you very much. All right, so now we're going to have the vows, and so you can repeat after me. First for Josh. I, Joshua Austin Steelman,
I, Joshua Austin Steelman,
take you, Adela Mawad,
take you, Adela Moad,
to be my wedded wife,
to be my wedded wife,
to love and to cherish,
to love and to cherish,
in accordance with the divine law,
in accordance with the divine law,
as set forth in the Holy Scriptures,
as set forth in the Holy Scriptures
for Christian husbands.
for Christian husbands.
For as long as we both shall live
For as long as we both shall live
together on earth,
together on earth,
according to God's marital arrangement.
according to God's marital arrangement.
And now for you, Adela. I, Adela Mawad,
I, Adela Mawad,
take you, Joshua Austin Steelman,
take you, Joshua Austin Steelman,
to be my wedded husband,
to be my wedded husband,
to love and to cherish and deeply respect,
to love and to cherish and deeply respect,
in accordance with the divine law,
in accordance with the divine law,
as set forth in the Holy Scriptures
as set forth in the Holy Scriptures
for Christian wives.
for Christian wives,
For as long as we both shall live
for as long as we both shall live
together on earth,
together on earth,
according to God's marital arrangement.
according to God's marital arrangement.
Now I understand there are rings to be exchanged. And these rings are an outward and visible sign signifying unto all the uniting of this man and this woman in the bonds of matrimony. For as much as Joshua Austin Steelman and Adela Mawad have covenanted before Jehovah God and these witnesses to accept each other in wedlock, I, as an ordained minister and by the authority conferred upon me by the Holy Scriptures and the state of New York, pronounce that they are husband and wife together. What God has yoked together, let no man put apart. Now, we'd like to have a prayer at this time, and we're going to ask Brother Wayne Steelman to offer the prayer. And now, you may kiss the bride. And it's my happy pleasure to introduce to this marriage gathering brother and sister Joshua and Adela Steelman. So just a couple of announcements to make. There is going to be a reception afterwards. It's by invitation only. So for those who are not going to the reception, Joshua and Adela will remain in front here in order to greet you if you would like. But also and they'll be doing that for about 10 minutes. Keep in mind that there's going to be a meeting held here in the Kingdom Hall at 1 o'clock today. So if you are going to the reception, if we can make our way out of the Kingdom Hall without unnecessary delay, then that meeting can begin on time.
So, I just have a question for you. Are you going to be going over to the reception after you're here? So, I'm not part of the people going to take pictures, but I can't miss that. You were the That's great. That's great. I love it. Yeah, I do need to get it because I wrote for this. I think want to take a picture, so.
If I did, I'm in trouble.
Oh, yes, exactly. I saw her around the way and I was like, I didn't see all of it. I just were like, you're like,